Welcome back to Ask an Advisor. Wes Moss here, along with Krista DiBiase. We're going to go straight into another leading edge, bleeding edge, cutting edge question or topic, and that has to do with artificial intelligence. How often do you use artificial intelligence, Krista? Every day, twice a day, once a week?
I probably use it. I would just say I only use it because I still do Google searches, but I use these summaries quite often. So probably once every couple of days.
Because Google now is AI as well.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you an AI answer, and then you could go further into AI mode. So really the world has just changed, and regular search is essentially gone, and it's changed into AI search. And whether you're utilizing Google and their version, or OpenAI's version, or Perplexity's version, or X's version, the old Twitter, they're all pretty similar. And now as you read through, you use different ones. Some have different strengths on coding and tabling and imaging, but they all will help you write. They will give you answers, of course, in longer form versus links, how Google used to. And that's just the reality of the world today. And a question into any of the AI platforms, it's just what we're going to do now forever. That's old Googling is just it's like a flip phone. It's gone. It'll be around, but nobody's going to use it anymore. So the world has moved to leveraging artificial intelligence. And the question is, how do you use it in financial planning and investing? And I think the way I would start this out is that AI, particularly when it comes to financial planning and investing, is your friend, but it is not a fortune teller. And it is a powerful tool that you have to be careful with. I keep thinking of an airplane analogy. It's like AI is the equivalent of figuring out how to fly an airplane, and it can tell you how to do it and give you all the buttons and the mechanics to do it. And you can maybe get in an airplane and just here are the steps, and next thing you know, you take off. But that's a super dangerous situation, and you're going to crash. And that's kind of how I think about AI, is that it is so powerful, it can let you almost do anything, but it doesn't mean that it's safe. It doesn't mean that it's right. First of all, I haven't tried this on every single platform, but it's not going to tell you, you can't say, give me the next NVIDIA to invest my entire retirement in so that I can turn $100,000 or $10,000 into $1 million over the next 10 years. It will absolutely, it's not a fortune teller. It can't do that for you. It knows that it really can't do that for you. So from an investing standpoint, it's very careful or at least every time I've prompted it for something like this, it's not going to tell you the next stock that's going to go up 1,000%. It knows it can't, and it'll even tell you that. So I think that's to some extent good. But it's very good for analysis. So again, not a crystal ball, but very good if you know what you want to analyze. So I think of it as really good for building out a cash flow model. If you're analyzing, if we're talking about stocks, but also within financial planning. So if you're analyzing investments, we'll start there. It could help you with, let's say, give me 10 companies with this kind of free cash flow, and give me 10 companies that also have this amount of net debt relative to their earnings or their EBITDA. Or give me companies that have grown their dividends for the X number of years and aren't paying out, they're paying out less than 50% of their earnings back into dividends. So it's really good for analysis. But think about what that all is. That's the analysis that you are asking it to just help you with. You're coming up with the analysis. You need to know what you're looking for, and then it can help you screen for that. So from an investing standpoint, think of it as a really good research analyst that can help you and sit by your side. But it's not going to tell you the next perfect stock to put your retirement in. And again, even most AI would answer it that way and say, well, you can't do that. You should be invested with diversification and broadly, et cetera. So, but here's some other areas I think it really helps. You can build out your own cash flow and retirement plan model using AI. So you can say, here's my budget. Here are my assets. And you give it the math problem to extrapolate over time. I'd like to assume a 5% rate of return. I'd like to assume a 2.5% inflation. My spending, I'd like to be able to spend $10,000 a month in the year 2035. And AI, like a great analyst sitting by your side, will be able to do that for you. Now, you could do that on your own in Excel, but a lot of people can't do that. So AI is a tool to leverage what you're and help you understand what you're thinking and what you're asking. So that's another use of it. You can still use, there's lots of great financial planning software, but I think that if you know how to utilize AI, it can be really helpful for that as well. Here's the next part of this, estate planning. You can ask it to figure out what would be a good overall estate planning map would be. You can help it analyze. You can upload your stock positions. Be careful about uploading actual sensitive information. But if you uploaded your stock positions with cost basis, it could maybe guide you on how to do some tax loss selling harvesting or tax harvesting. The other area that, again, is a little bit like going back to my airplane analogy, it's powerful, so you got to be really careful with it, is planning and understanding your income and your tax situation. There is no substitute for a CPA and a tax advisor that has done planning for a decade or 3 decades to really know the nuances of the rules. But as an example, earlier we talked about trying to stay under IRMA. That's a really complicated question. It's really
Definitely.
It's really complicated because you got to take into account your income, your RMDs, then you have to look at your standard deduction, and then you have to look at the impact of what taking money out of the IRA that is in a hypothetical world that you're still trying to figure out. So I notice in trying to figure out the exact taxes here and using the tool for that, using artificial intelligence, the way the questioning went ended up being very wrong because it assumed that it kind of stacked that this was this couple's income when it comes to Social Security, and here's the standard deduction. And then when we were adding in, well, if we take out $100,000 or $130,000 from the IRA, what does that do to the income? Well, it just does this, and it just calculated what those taxes would be. But it didn't look at the whole conversation, so it was wrong. So you have to understand that it was wrong and say, wait a minute, I don't think that's right because I think it's just stacking. So then you have to go back to the beginning and say, okay, well, here's the whole new scenario. Just to start giving you an idea about how those taxes might work. Again, it can tell you how to fly the plane, but if you don't have the knowledge on really how to use it, the plane is not going to stay in the air and it's going to be a disaster. So I would just say that it's very useful, particularly when you have a really strong grasp of a subject and you really know what to ask it, and you know when it's going, when you know when it's answering you wrong or something doesn't add up. Then you got to go back and adjust. So I think it's a really powerful tool. It's a friend. It's an analyst that sits by your side, but it's not a fortune teller. And you got to be really careful putting big decisions in the hands of it. You still need real life people that have flown the plane for a couple of decades in order to feel safe.